I brought myself to smile at the start of this because I feel that it's going to be a downward spiral as soon as we start talking. It's been a pretty shocking January to be a Walsall fan, but nothing more shocking than what's going on with Harley's hair. Harley, what's with the man bun?
Well, it's been growing out, and Walsall, they've made me so depressed this month. I haven't been for a haircut. So I just thought, because it flops about a bit, I just thought I'll kind of,
with the aggressive head bobbing you're going to be doing. You thought
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, this is it. And if next game we all have to go and get into the technical box and stand up to Matt Taylor, I don't want my head to be flapping about everywhere, do I?
Yeah, you want to look good for the cameras.
Exactly.
I mean, we said just before starting this, we're not really going to look back at game by game like we normally do because there's much bigger issues at play. I told you the stat before. I saw on I can't remember what the website is now, but over the last 6 matches, which from memory has been all of January, has it been 6 games?
Yeah.
We are second from bottom in the form table, with one of our next oppositions in Scunthorpe as the team the only ones below us. It's been a pretty dire month, hasn't it?
It's been awful. It really has.
I thought you were just going to end it. It's been awful.
It's just really been awful. I mean, we kind of started off with a interesting game, Newport.
Yeah.
There was a bit of kind of optimism there, even though we conceded 3 goals, one of which was our own goal, blah. Everything other than that, dreadful. Just dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did our sort of December and end of year review just after it was a couple of days into the new year, and we both had a bit of optimism that Wilkinson had come on, he'd scored a couple of goals, it had been a mental game, but it's really, I mean, I think looking back, it's been dreadful. It's been a dreadful couple of months, really, since the win at Port Vale. I don't think there's been particularly good time for the club.
No, and when you actually look at the season, we had a good October, and that's been it. November was made to look good by the win at Vale. That was it. That was a pretty poor month, to be honest. We got knocked out of 2 cups in that month, didn't we? I think it was November. And, we've had 1 good month this season. That's it.
I mean, we'll get on to some of the questions in the next video that we do, which, folks, we got some answers ready like this. But the concerning thing for me is that we have had a bad month and we've had a bad season. Like you said, bar in October, we've had a bad season, and there's an opportunity with the fact that there was a small squad as it was. We imagined budget would be available. There's been Rico Henry money come in. The accounts show that there was obviously a profit made. There's been bits and pieces. And then we lose Otis Khan and Ash Taylor. Ash Taylor rumoured to be on one of the highest wages. Firstly, the website, I think it's salarysport.com, they have no idea what they're talking about. So please don't quote those websites to anyone watching, because there's no way Connor Wilkinson's on 3,600 a week at Walsall. But Taylor was rumoured to be on one of our higher earners. He's gone. Khan's gone. We've got a few young players in the squad who wouldn't command a high wage. Pomlet's spoken about how they've managed their finances quite well and that we're a top 7 budget. And yet clubs around us are making signings left, right and centre, and from what look to be good signings.
Yeah, that kind of shocked me when he said top 7 budget. Which bit of it's top 7? Yeah. Is it the transfer money that we have in the pot? Is it wages? Doesn't seem like it to me. Neither of them seem that competitive.
Yeah.
The recruitment's been not great. It seems like Jamie Fullerton, his only contacts are from Halifax, because Carl Rushworth, Earring, Devante Rodney all played for Halifax at one point when he was there. That's the only real kind of thing he's done for us, to be quite honest. It's been, we're not making great signings. We're not playing good football. We don't. We say we have money, but we don't. The reason most clubs don't turn a profit is because they're spending on players to go up the leagues, because they want to make profit in the future potentially and have success. We've always been that club that turns a profit, but yet we don't have success. So why is it good for us and bad for everyone else?
Yeah, I think on the accounts side of it, for me, I look and I go, the quality in this division is poor. It's poor. There's only been one standout team.
Yeah.
If you spend a little bit on recruitment, not saying buying the league or anything like that, but if you spend a little bit of money and don't act on such a shoestring budget, or just admit that you don't have a top 7 budget, you will get the fans on board. You will get potentially some success out of it, back to League One or into the playoffs or something top 10, let's say. You'll make more money from doing that. You will progress a couple of rounds in a cup. I mean, for Walsall to not have reached the 3rd round in, I can't remember how many years, to reach the 3rd round of the FA Cup, you are getting in a 6-figure sum to get there. To keep constantly getting knocked out the rounds that we are, and to finishing with the low finishes in the league table, we're not making money from the playing football side of it, which is the whole point of being a football club. There's no success on the pitch to fund things going off of it, but then we're still churning out a profit. I think most fans would take a break even or slight loss if we actually did, giving it a quote, give it a go. What it feels like is we make a few £1,000s profit, but we slip further in decline and further in decline. And more fans are going to get turned off. Fans are already getting turned off because they're not turning up to matches. They're going to lose revenue streams. And it's just this downward spiral that the club is on at the moment. And to be quite honest, I don't know what Lee Pomlett's done in his couple of years there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said this to you because we were talking before we were going to record this, and I messaged you, and we were talking about this, and I said, what change has he affected on the club? Realistically, what has he done? He's put out a few videos. He's been more communicative. He said some nice things. He seems like a decent bloke. I do like him. I've kind of briefly met him. He seemed all right. He seemed like a nice chap, but he hasn't done anything. It still feels like we're being owned by Bonser. It's just we've brought in someone to talk to the fans a bit. We still pay 500k a year or whatever it is, to Uncle Jeff for that. It's a bit ridiculous. We haven't progressed. Nothing has changed. And what I expected from Pomlett when he came in was to develop a winning culture, because that is what you need in a football club. You look at any successful football club, no matter what league, what country, whatever, the owner will bring in people who are winners in everything they do. And I don't just mean managers, I don't just mean players, I mean all of the coaching staff, even the media teams, everything, the board members, everything behind the club, everybody's driving towards one goal. They want to do the absolute best of their ability at their job, no matter what it is. And we feel like a bunch of losers, to be quite honest. Everything we do is mediocre. we hire people who are mediocre and they do a mediocre job. And I thought that was going to change, and it hasn't.
Yeah, I think I trust Pomlet's business sense, because he wouldn't have been on the board at something ridiculous like 40 companies throughout his career, or I think he was still on about 10, 15 when he took over the club. It was something like that, and or a shareholder in. And I trust him on a business sense, and I know that he has brought Fullerton in to effectively run the football side, but I don't think he's done anything particularly well. And we'll look back a little bit on the departures front, but he's brought in players who've gone straight away. Taylor and Khan. Okay, Taylor on paper looked like it was going to be a good signing. It's not worked out. They were on about bringing in the right characters, and it doesn't feel like Ash Taylor was the right character to have in. And then they brought Khan in for 3 months, one of which he wasn't fit, so was particularly bad. Then we have the academy, the head of the academy leave. And I've seen a really good point. Before Fullerton came to the club, Lara actually had steered the academy round. When he came in, and when we first had Darryl Clark in, the academy was doing well, and it produced a couple of really good products. This season has been the worst the academy has been. And I don't know whether it's because the players that were there were just talented, that Lara couldn't have failed at his job, or whether Fullerton's come in and changed something. I don't know. We will never know that. The fans will never know that. That is a purely behind the scenes. But recruitment, we're 19th in League Two with a top seven, with an apparent top seven budget. We constantly fail to deliver on what the chairman has said in videos. And the communication has stopped. Okay, he did a video, but it felt like he did this video in response to the minutes that were published online or weren't published online by like one of the supporters groups. It wasn't a proactive thing. The club has become an extremely reactive club. It's constantly firefighting. And this is something that, I mean, a lot of the fans know that I sent an email to Dan Mole last week. And to be fair, he replied. I haven't put this out there because it was conversations that we were having. And my biggest message was, you must communicate these things. There are things that I raise concerns about, basic things like when turnstiles are going to be closed. And the response was, we find out on a match day. And I said, that's fine. People understand that in a COVID world, you might not get staff come in. You might be understaffed. Communicate with us. And it feels like the fans are just being taken for granted week after week. And I've seen a lot of the season ticket holders who left their money in the club going, what's the thanks that we're getting? We get a brick and a commemorative shirt. Great. That's nice, but they're not being repaid on the pitch. It looks like another bottom third League Two finish. And all that happens is we get a YouTube video with complaints that structurally the stadium's fine. Well, great. It's something that we pretty much knew. That was just rumours that were flying around. What fans want is a dedicated approach on the pitch, and then a dedicated approach to an experience of being a fan going to the stadium. Because at the moment, all of it's dreadful. Sorry, rant over.
No, you're absolutely right. And where's the plan? You expect these people to come in. Pomlet, he's a successful businessman. So obviously he's run the business side and he's turned a profit. So he's in that respect, he's done his job. He says himself he's not a football man, So he's tried to bring in someone who is. But where's the plan? You buy a football club, you set a roadmap out and say, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do to achieve this goal. And here's the steps. Where is it? I don't know if he has one. He certainly hasn't expressed it to us. All he's ever said, and to be honest, he's beat this point to death, that he wants to take us to League One, the Championship, and he's gone. He's going to sell it to someone else. That's all he ever says. That's his entire plan. So all he's thinking is, it's either I want us to get there so I can make some money, or this just sounds good, I'm going to keep saying it. I don't buy it anymore.
Yeah, I think
I don't.
What the other thing that's getting broken record is it's the thing that all fans already know, and it's the COVID excuse. Now,
Yeah.
I understand that certain bigger developments will be put on hold because of COVID. Completely understand that. Completely understand that the Sadler's Club's being left dormant, and that really, that, however bad it sounds, that's not going to be a priority of the club to spend a lot of money renovating. I understand those points. But what I don't understand is how we are supposedly a top 7 budget. We have put this infrastructure in place, supposedly, and we are struggling to beat teams that are around us, that every club has gone through COVID. It's not just us. I understand the external things that, like I said, might be affected, but the basics are every one of the 24 clubs in this league have a dedicated approach to the fans, or the majority do. They have a dedicated approach on the pitch. Again, not all fans from each club would agree, but from a Walsall point of view, it feels like we don't. And that the majority of these clubs that have been through a shared experience are actually giving it a go. Like we said earlier, Mansfield have made some incredible signings. What's helped is their form and the fact that they're looking likely to probably hit the playoffs. But we do this every January. We end January on a bad slump of form, and it's who's still out there that would just come along and make up the numbers. The ambition has just gone.
Yeah, I don't, and I've thought about this more and more as Matt Taylor's kind of tenure has gone on. No, I still like him as a coach. I do, and I like him as a person. I don't think he's the issue. I think he's part of the problem, but he's not the causality. Because if you look at it, if you look at the past few managers we've had, we brought in Dean Keats. Now, he'd done a good job with Wrexham. It wasn't just that he was an ex-player. It was that he actually had a good track record with Wrexham. And he made some good signings. People forget that we had a half-decent squad when he took over. He brought in Andy Cook. He brought in Morgan Ferrier, who was at the time a really good signing because he was a good player. And it died. Darrell Clark. The club never got out of second gear under Darrell Clark. And we ended up having to sell our best players. And he left because he was miserable because he was working on a shoestring budget. The club had sold his best players. Say what you want about him. I'm not a big fan of the bloke, but I can understand absolutely why he left.
Yeah.
Because who would want to manage Walsall Football Club? Matt Taylor's come in and they haven't really supported him. You look at the players we brought in, some of them have been good, but there's not been enough of them. And I kind of said it, might have been yesterday or the day before, I kind of put the question out, has Taylor lost the dressing room? And I think he has. Dean Keats lost the dressing room. He did. Darryl Clark was the only one who I'd say, did he? Because we were okay under Darryl Clark. We weren't brilliant, but we were all right.
We weren't as bad as we've been since he's left.
Exactly. And is it down to the manager or is it down to the club? It's not a winning environment. It's a depressing environment. It's a very depressing place to be. It's a depressing club to support. And I keep banging on about it, but that winning environment is so vital. Any business, any sport, you need to have winners. You need to create an environment where people want to succeed. To be honest, those players, they don't look like they're happy. They look fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Apologies for swearing. Anyway, and
I'm sure the people watching this have probably seen, heard, and said worse.
They definitely have. They definitely have. I was at Bristol Rovers away, and I heard it firsthand. But anyway, that's how. Like, I try to not swear on these, but that's how riled up I am about the club. They do look miserable. They just look like they're collecting a wage packet, and they are.
Yeah,
because there's no success to be had here.
I look at some of the players that have gone in recent times, and I look at so I'm just trying to get up like the various league tables. But Andy Cook, like we've said, he scores goals. He scores goals, and whether he's on scraps or not, he will score goals.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the League One table, and Plymouth are in with a shout of getting promoted. They're just outside the playoffs. They've got Dan Scarr and Joe Edwards.
Yeah.
Like two former players who've gone on and shown what they can do. We've got Dobson, who's, I don't know what club he's at the moment because he seems to move around a few, but again, a League One player. There's I can't think of many more at the moment. But
Liam Roberts and John Guthrie at Northampton, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they've had one of the best defences in the league. And they were both hated by Walsall fans, and they were mocked remorselessly for being terrible. And now look at them.
Yeah. And like Roberts has been getting like goalie of the week and getting really good reviews at down in Northampton. And it just, there is something wrong with the club, and there is someone that I was speaking to about a week ago, and they made a comment. They said the worst thing that could have ever happened to Walsall Football Club was Dean Smith. Which I was like, whoa, okay, I'm gonna hear this point out.
Mm-hmm.
And the point being made was that if you remove two of his seasons, season we got into the playoffs, the half season he had, and the trip to Wembley, they were probably the two best years in 15 years of being a Walsall fan. Really. And he has allowed the club to stay in League One for the few seasons it did afterwards on we nearly got there and we've done this. And then it's almost made the club believe that they are a better standing than they are.
Yeah.
And now all we seem to have done after being relegated into League Two is this sort of mid-table like mediocrity that we had in League One. Just scrub the word one out and put two, and that's all we've done. Mm-hmm. We've not shown any fight to go back up. We've shown more threat of looking over our shoulders, and it seems that we're quite content to just keep safely away from relegation. And eventually that will catch up with you, as it did.
Yeah. If we, in the future, go down to the conference, we're not coming back up.
No.
To be perfectly and brutally honest, we would not come back up.
No.
Because the standard is quite high in non-league football. People don't realise that. There are a lot of good players.
It's a different type of football.
There's a lot of good players in there, and there's a lot of bigger budgets. You know, you look at your Stockport, your Wrexhams, your Halifaxes. They've all got quite a bit of money, and they've got the know-how of non-league football. You look at the clubs that come up, Sutton, Harrogate. They've come up and they're doing well.
Yeah.
If we go down, we're going to do a Notts County, or a Southend.
I mean,
so Southend are right down the bottom of the conference, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They've managed to pull it together the last few. I'm just literally looking now. I mean, Dover had the points deduction, and then you've got Weymouth and Kings Lynn that really are they're out of their depth.
Yeah.
But after that, it's fairly open. And you look at some of the clubs that are in there, and like Wrexham, they're sixth.
Yeah.
Like because only one club goes up automatically, and another through the playoffs, which is a really odd system. But I mean, Notts County are still in there. Dagenham Red are still in there. Grimsby, I know that they were kind of a mess, mid-table. Yeovil, former Football League. Torquay, who've been kind of knocking on the door. And then, like I said, Southend and Barnet. Like, there's a lot of clubs that would have a shout with being probably saying that they should be fighting to get back into the Football League.
Yeah.
And one of the big things about getting relegated is if you're not back up within 2 seasons, you're not allowed to run an academy anymore. You can't have an academy status, which would completely ruin
cripple the club.
Yeah.
And someone made the point, it might have been a few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago. They said that if they had the same system in place for relegation and promotion as the Championship to League One, League One to League Two.
Which, let's face it, it probably deserves.
Yeah.
At least 2 automatic, 1 playoffs.
We'd have probably gone down last season, potentially. We might well have done. Where did we finish? 21st, was it? I think it was.
No, it was 19th in the end.
So we would have just scraped by.
Yeah.
We're very lucky only 2 teams go down, because we're in a real risk of, if that was this season, we could well go down if there was 4 places.
If you look at the table, the 3 seasons we've been in, you look and you go, right, off the pitch, Scunthorpe and Oldham are a mess. And they will, I mean, they're what?
10 points
off. They're 7 points off safety already. Last season, it was Grimsby and Southend. Again, major issues off the pitch. The season before that, it was Stevenage and Macclesfield. And, well, Stevenage ended up staying up, but they were a mess behind the scenes. And Macclesfield, we know what. And it feels like we are driving towards that mess behind the scenes, because the biggest customer of a football club is its fans.
Yeah.
And our fans do not feel like they are valued by the club at all.
I really hope someone from the club is watching this. I hope Lee Palmer's watching this. And I doubt it. But I hope someone in Walsall goes and shows him and says, Lee, look at this. Look how your fans feel. Because I feel like right now we are representing the fans in how we feel, because we're really not happy. And that fan who went up to Matt Taylor, I've never seen that before.
No.
He's going to get banned for 3 years. He will. And he was willing to risk that just to make a point, because he loves his club so much that he can't bear to watch us be this terrible.
Yeah.
To not beat 10 men when we had an advantage for 60 minutes and had 2 shots on target, that's one of the worst Walsall displays I've ever seen. That was horrendous. He was willing to risk that because he couldn't put up with this anymore. Shouldn't that say something to the club?
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't ban him. I'd give him a medal because he's making a point that needs to be made.
I'd like to thank everyone that voted on the polls in the last sort of week or so, because each result was put forward to the club. It was passed over, as were a lot of the comments, again, to try and make the point, because it doesn't feel like anyone's listening. Oh. And it goes back to this thing about Lee Pomlett's communication. Right, he did a video, great. But he only did a video because it was in response to what a supporters trust were going to put online. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like, today of all days, on deadline day, there are gaping holes in the squad. I mean, we'll come on to that next. There are gaping holes in the squad. There is a real lack of depth. And this was something that we spoke about before players were leaving. We said that there needed to be a left back, which in all fairness we got, and that we needed attacking reinforcements. Then Holden's ruled out for the season. Otis Khan had left by this point. There are still more that those needed replacing on top of everything else. We've only, I feel, added one player to the squad, and that is Devine at left back. Everyone else has been replacements, which we needed the club to, in my opinion, just sign a creative player, sign someone. Yeah. I mean, Tyreek Wright went to Colchester. I think most fans would have him back.
Yeah.
And we will get on to the transfers, but the thing that is really annoying me, and again, if anyone from the club is watching this, I would really advise, stop making bold claims. This comment about forging a link with Villa, we don't have a Villa player on loan. These comments about we'll sign this number of players in a certain time frame, we don't. And when the match day experience is, well, when there isn't one, and when it's so bad it's putting people off, and when the football's so bad that it's putting people off, don't then try and placate fans by making points that you then can't deliver on. You have to treat them with the respect that they are not a child that just needs like a pat on the head and a run along. The comments that Fullerton made at the fans forum, they have massively come back to bite him. Mm-hmm. Comments about being calm, comments about they're not expecting players to leave, comments about plans A through till D, E, and F. All of this just makes you look worse in the roles that you're in. There's no trust there, there's no faith there, and it feels like it's patronising the fans every time. And the only thing that will not make it look so bad is the fact that on a match day, season ticket holders' numbers are included, no matter whether they turn up or not.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And yeah, one other thing I want to mention before we move on to kind of the transfers and Matt Taylor and all that good stuff is the Saddler's liaison officer.
Yeah,
I'm really not happy with him because I understand what he was getting at, but how can you be a communications officer and not like social media? Yeah. It's the biggest form of communication in the world, and I'm not talking about Walsall, I mean the entire world, almost everybody uses the internet. They use social media. This is our platform as fans to say how we feel. I don't care if someone critiques him on social media and he gets offended. I do not care. That's not his job to get offended. His job is to relay information back and forth. His job is to communicate with the fans and the club. He's a liaison officer. What liaising has he done? People email him. He says he wants to be contacted through email. People email him. They get one-line answers back. That's what I've been told. I haven't emailed him. I don't want to. I don't want to speak to him.
No, I just went direct to the club.
Yeah, you would do. He serves no purpose. Like I said, it's time for a change, and it is. He's a dinosaur. Get someone in who's young. He might care about the club. Great. I know 5,000 people who love the club, who could do as good a job as him, who are younger, who love it more, who'd be better at it. In this day and age, you're a liaison officer. It's a social media orientated role. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is as well, when you look at some of the biggest sports outlets in the world, Sky, they have teams who just look at social media for trends, for stories, all of this. Yeah. The power of social media is huge.
People aren't going to email him. Some might, but it's a lot easier just to put it on social media than it is to email him. He should be looking at what people are saying.
Yeah.
He should be going through the comment sections on our pages, the Walsall FC main account page, all of the kind of big influencers, all of the hashtags. He should be looking through, spotting the trends, seeing what people are unhappy about, and telling the club and getting the club to do something, and then coming back to the fans and said, I've acknowledged that this issue you've raised, I've spoken to the club, here's what they've said. I think it comes down to the fact that he doesn't feel like a liaison officer. He just feels like someone who works for the club. He feels like he's Pomlet's pal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's just I think it's ridiculous, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I mean, I've just, since we started this, I haven't even looked on Twitter. And yeah, Joe Edwards has just confirmed that obviously nothing's happening at the end. So that takes us on, because it's now 3 minutes past 11. So the window has now officially closed. 3 players out: Taylor, Khan, and Phillips. 4 in, 3.5 in, really. Menais is now permanent. Donovan Daniels, Reece Devine, and Devante Rodney. Thoughts on the if we just do the kind of the players that have gone and come in, and the focus on the actual transfers rather than what we're missing.
Starting with Otis Khan, I think it was absolutely a ridiculous decision to have his contract up in January. Yeah. Why? Why did we agree to that? Yeah. That's such a stupid thing to do. Who negotiated that? Whoever negotiated that should not negotiate any other negotiation ever, because that's a terrible idea. Because even if we'd have kept him, if we did it a month before, a month after, he either has to re-sign, leave, or he can be bought. He can be bought out or something. I don't know. Because if he's under contract in January, he has to be bought.
Yeah. For me, I just look and I go, if the player, if that is all the player will sign, and you are on about good characters, and you've made such a point about good characters, why are you signing them on such a short deal? Yeah. If that is all, if the only contract that he would accept is what was it, October that he came in?
Yeah.
September?
So yeah, something like that.
Yeah. You've got, say, 3 months. I think it was like a 3 month deal or three
Yeah.
and a half, 4 month deal. If that is, if in the negotiations that is all that he will sign, what's the point?
It's not like he's gone up the league or anything. It's not like he's gone to a League One club or something like he wanted to. He's gone to Leyton Orient. They were 2 positions above us when he signed for them.
Yeah.
So what was so much more appealing about Leyton Orient than Walsall? Now, other than the rumour that he house shared with Ash Taylor and had nowhere to live, barring that weird
I've
rumour,
not heard that rumour.
yeah, other than that, what was the appeal?
Yeah. Yeah. It was it's, I don't know, people say about the, I mean, this is a Londoner talking here, but the lure of London and all of that. But like you said, you could understand it if he went to, let's say, a Northampton, who are more than likely going to finish in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But Orient aren't. I have to say this very carefully. Aren't, and their fans aren't happy with the way they're playing at the moment. And actually, would rather him be in an attacking midfield role rather than a wing back role.
Yeah.
So he's playing in a position that isn't his preferred position at a club that's going to finish in a very kind of non-exciting way that Walsall will hopefully finish.
Mm-hmm.
And we're apparently a top 7 budget club. If we can't keep hold of these types of players, what was the hope for the rest of January?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? And no one from the club has really come out to explain it.
No.
Because there's more to it than meets the eye. We can all see that. Like you say, the club is taking us for fools, to be quite honest. It's doing things and not telling us why and expecting us to go, oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, well, then we'll move on to Ash Taylor. Why on earth did we cut his contract short? Why did we agree to that? It was mutually agreed. That means that both parties wanted this. Now, look, he wasn't brilliant for us. Maybe he wasn't the best character in the dressing room. But at this point, we were having a centre half crisis.
Yeah.
You know, it was him or Leak at centre half. And then the spiel about him having COVID, but he can play for Kilmarnock a few days later. Why didn't we get a fee for him? Why didn't we get a fee?
Now, I half agree and half disagree with you on this. For me, if he wanted to go and we had someone that we were eyeing up, I'd cut our losses, release him, go get the other player in with those wages. Especially if Kilmarnock weren't going to pay. I kind of just think in that situation, it hadn't worked out. It seems like a bit of a norm in this window that I've seen a lot of players that have mutually terminated deals to then go and move. I don't mind that as much if the bullshit about his COVID, like positive COVID result and the centre half crisis.
Yeah.
If we released him and he signed for Kilmarnock and we'd got Daniels ready to go, why didn't we bring him in straight away?
Mm-hmm.
Because Taylor didn't decide to go on the Friday or Thursday it was announced. That's not how it worked. It would have been from weeks before. Really, when, I don't know who the Kilmarnock manager is, but
Derek McKill's in it. He's worked with Taylor before. Yeah.
When that would have been a conversation going on more than just a week, probably 2 weeks plus. And you it left us so short. And Daniels came in at such a late stage before playing that you just wonder what Fullerton's doing.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's why I might have glossed over that a little bit. Like, I do agree with you that, like, I am annoyed at that. Like, I would have been perfectly happy to bring in a Daniels on the same day as Taylor leaves. That makes sense to me.
Because it felt like basically a reassigning of wages.
Yeah, pretty much. But it wasn't. It was, he wants to leave, and then Matt Taylor, Pomlet, and Fullerton have gone, okay, he wants to leave. Let's just go into the contacts book and find one. But they didn't do their research. And then they panicked and they went, we've got no one. And at that point, it's too late. The next game is upon us, and they haven't signed anyone. That's what happened. I wasn't there, but I can promise you that's what happened. They thought they knew better than they did. They thought if they let him go, they could get someone in straight away. That's not how it works. Only let someone go in that situation if you have someone lined up.
And even if they'd have played, because you wouldn't play Taylor in that situation, but you would have him on the bench in case one of your only two centre backs gets a red card or gets injured, and you're left with fullbacks playing centre back. That basic thing of, like not having a goalie on the bench. You've got, I just think it was in a week where Fullerton's coming under a lot of criticism, and in a month where Fullerton's getting a lot of criticism, it was possibly one of the worst bits of business you could do, because it just showed that there was no plan.
Yeah. So he had this plan A, B, C, D, E. And yet, as soon as that situation arose, it fell apart. The same with Khan, the same with Phillips.
Yeah.
The plan,
no loanees were going to go back.
Yeah. He said that the contracts with the loanees were airtight. We was confident we weren't going to lose any of them. And he said, if someone like George Miller were to leave, he said there's 100 George Millers out there. And he meant that for all the players. Why didn't we replace Phillips?
Yeah.
We've signed Rodney. I mean, is it a replacement? He's he's a winger / striker.
But the fact of the matter on that one is we needed Rodney and someone else.
Yeah.
And the only place I look at and go, we are stronger at the end of the month than we were at the start is, well, actually, do I dare say central defence because of the cock-ups they've been making? I mean, not that, like, the form of Menais has not been great. It's been awful since he signed for the permanent deal. I'm not criticising the club at all for that, because to be fair to them, they have signed him permanently, and you couldn't account for that.
Mm-hmm.
But at left back, I feel we're in a much better position.
Yeah,
and I think Daniels is a bit of an upgrade on Taylor.
I think he is, but I said this after Tuesday night when he had a really good game. I'm not going to get excited
till he's played a few,
because I have a fear, based on what I've read about him, that it's going to be the Russell Martin effect, which is something that I've coined, which is when you have a really good debut and then you're dreadful.
Right. Okay.
That is the Russell Martin effect, because he was terrible. After that, he had that one game at Wickham where he played. He marked Akinfenwa out the game. He was excellent, and then he was awful. And Daniels kind of proved my point, because his fault for the goal at Rovers. Yeah. Other than that, I thought he was quite good. He was, he was commanding. He's the only one in the defence who talks.
Yeah, I feel it's the difficult thing is we're sat here and 3 of our signings we can't really talk about because one of them we haven't seen play.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has had one good game, one shocker. And the other one kind of feel for because of the team he was in. It just I feel for Divine at left back because when you're down to 10 men, so when like your opposition's down to 10 men, you're not looking at your left back to have an awesome game.
I mean, he did all right with what he had. Divine did. I mean, he was trying. There were errors from him. There were, but he was trying, and he felt like one of the few players on the pitch who was trying. And I think he is better than Ward. He's certainly more mobile. He's more agile. He's more creative, and he has more desire. So in that respect, individually, I don't think the players we've brought in are necessarily bad players. I think they might turn out to be fairly good signings.
But we're still in the same position where...
Is it any better than 30 days ago? Not really.
I'd say on the transfer activity as a whole, I'd say we are maybe, with the players we've got in, marginally better.
Yeah. And the big question with Rodney is, where's Taylor going to play him?
Yeah.
I was really excited when we signed Phillips on loan. He had, I think he played like 13 games in the 23s and he scored 14 goals. And this was at striker. He was a bagsman. He was given 1 game at striker, I think, this season. And I think it was a cup game.
Yeah, it was.
He hasn't been given the opportunity, and that's so weird. Like, he's not a winger. He doesn't look like a winger.
No.
He doesn't play like a winger. He doesn't want to be a winger. That's why he went to Exeter. The club doesn't want him to be a winger. That's why they recalled him. Is Rodney, even though he is more of a winger, are we going to allow him the chance to go down the middle? Because he's got a good finish on him.
Is it going to be Wilkinson moved up top? Like, it just doesn't, like, again, and this is something that I go back to Fullerton and maybe the stubbornness of Taylor. What system is being recruited it for?
Well, this is what I've been thinking. Why did we sign Connor Wilkinson? Because Connor Wilkinson is not very good in this system in a 4-2-3-1 because he has to play so deep. Connor Wilkinson is good at right forward. He's good at right wing when he's pushed right up the pitch.
Yeah.
When he's on the front foot, when he doesn't have to do a lot of tracking back, his job is to score goals. He did really well for Orient. He got 15 goals last season at that kind of right forward position.
Yeah. This is why I feel that it's only a slight tweak to what we're playing. But I feel that we have to play 4-3-3.
Yeah.
I know I might get hounded for that because it'll be one central striker. But in a 4-3-3, you have the midfield cover. It means that you could have a midfield of Kinsella holding deeper as a holding mid, or even Labadie, and then you have Earing and Kinsella who just box to box. It means that you've got more of a core in midfield to then allow your wingers to play, like you said, as inside forwards or proper wingers, rather than attacking midfield, but they have to drop back.
The problem I've got with that is there's no point playing a 3 in midfield the way we play because we bypass the midfield. That's his tactic.
Yeah.
It's to get the ball up the pitch as fast as possible, which doesn't work when you've got a short striker who's not particularly strong. I mean, given his build, he's reasonably strong for a man of his size, but he's not a target man. He's not a centre forward. He's not an Adebayo. He can't hold off 2 defenders. You know, there's no point playing 3 in midfield if you're going to go straight over it. Because effectively what he's saying is, Erin Kinsella-Labadie, your job is to win the ball back. That's all it is. And even Osadibe doesn't get a lot of chances and he gets a lot of criticism. But we don't play through the midfield.
Yeah.
We never do.
I think a 4-3-3 might help that though. Well, I don't know, but I think with that system, no formation's going to.
No. Hoofball doesn't work. Hoofball only works when you've got a team that's built for it, when you've got a big lumbering striker, when you've got ball-playing centre-halves who are good with a pass, when you've got quick wingers, when you've got players who can come in and support the striker, you've got those partnerships, then it can kind of work. You need that kind of Crouchy Defoe type relationship of a 2 up front to play, where someone to take it in and distribute it to someone who can go and be quick.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Wilkinson, people say play him up top. Every time I've seen him at striker, he's been terrible. And this is what Orient said. They said he can't head the ball. He looks like a target man, but he isn't.
No,
he never has been.
He's much better with ball at feet.
So I struggle with Matt Taylor because he's married to this 4-2-3-1, but the football is terrible. I don't think they're listening to him, to be quite honest. Like I said, I think he's off the dressing room. They're not listening to him. They're not confident. We're not creating a lot of chances. The chances we do create, we're not putting away. I mean, Miller's miss at Bradford, I was behind the goal. I don't think I've seen a worse miss in football. He was 2-3 yards out.
It looked
with
like
an open goal.
It looked like
come off his shin.
It looked like a really good clearance.
It was. What he's done is Earring squared it, and he somehow managed to re-square the ball.
Yeah,
that's what he's done.
I've never heard an analogy of that before, but yeah, he's re-squared the ball.
It's gone straight back to Earring. Is what he's basically done. He's played the perfect. It's like Earring's got a ball on a string, and he's just tugged his foot back as soon as it's got to Miller. And Wilkinson, I mean, that was an incredible save, to be fair to him. But he's on the line. He should score that. The keeper should not be getting anything to that.
Yeah, but I also feel that swap Wilkinson for Miller, Wilkinson's burying that.
Oh yeah, but it just shows the team's got no confidence, and Taylor needs to light a fire under their arses.
Yeah,
and he hasn't.
But they must look at January and go, there's nothing inspiring coming in.
Yeah. Like, who in that club is driving them to be better? It's certainly not Pomlet, it's certainly not Fullerton, and it's certainly not Matt Taylor.
Yeah.
None of them look like leaders. Here's a question for you, Rob. Out of those three, would you follow any of them into battle if they said we're going over the trenches? Would they inspire you to go over the trenches?
No.
There you go.
No.
Football, going out the tunnel, is going over the trenches.
Yeah.
It's going to play brave football. You've got to be bold. You know, football's about taking risks. It's about beating your man. It's about having a pop shot from 40 yards. It's about trying things. We haven't tried anything.
I think the only thing that I don't think we're going to drop into a relegation battle for the pure reason that Oldham and Scunthorpe are piss poor. But then again, Scunthorpe have made a couple of good signings today, and if they work out, you never know. But
the only other thing is with that, Scunthorpe play Oldham, and then don't they play us? Surely they're looking at that going, they're rubbing their hands together. That's 6 points that could get us somewhere out of relegation.
I know that we've got them. Is it
because they play each other, and we've got them Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, don't we?
Yeah. So Scunthorpe were looking at that, saying, there's a potential 6 points.
Yeah, because they've then got Swindon, Rochdale, Northampton.
Yeah,
they've then got a bit of a run of it after. Actually, Rochdale are a bit, but yeah, I mean It's
And other than Scunthorpe, we're not going to beat any of those sides. We play Northampton twice. We play Tranmere. We play Swindon. We will not beat them. Not how we are at the moment.
no, it's oh god, it's dreadful, isn't it?
It is. It's awful. It's depressing. And you know, he Taylor promised us exciting football, and you kind of saw that at the start of the season when we were transitioning the play quite quickly. You know, we were keeping the ball on the ground. We don't do that, and I've seen it with every manager. The players, they look out of their depth, and I know for a fact that most of those players, if not all of them, are better than where they are in the league. Maybe barring a couple.
Higher league experience.
Yeah. They shouldn't be wondering what to do. They shouldn't be unconfident of what play they want to make. These things should be instilled in them.
The other thing is, and I know we talk about it a lot on this, but we saw how good they can be.
Yeah.
We've seen this season them play teams below and dispatch them, and grind out wins against teams above us. We've shown, and the players have shown, that they can perform. It's just that, there's something very, very concerning going on at the club at the moment.
Something's fundamentally wrong. And I might add,
go on,
about Port Vale, I think the only reason we won that game is because of the game it was, because of the fact that it was our kind of rivalry. It was a big game. It was one everyone was excited for, and that managed to G up the players just enough to kind of put in a really killer performance where they all wanted it from the off. We've not seen that again because there's not been a game with that kind of atmosphere around it.
Yeah.
And that was a one-off because we were poor before that and we've been even worse afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I look and I go, like I said to you, I think we're fairly should be safe with the players we've got. I think Month coming back in, I think Devine at left back, once he's sort of settled a bit, will be a good signing. And I hope that Daniels can, Daniels but Rodney can bring something that just can vary the attack up. I think we'll just bumble through, probably finish around where we are at the moment, which again is another unexciting season. It's a season that's not really going to fill potential players with much desire to come and play for the club. But for me, there needs to be big changes behind the scenes. I mean, we've been recording for probably an hour now. We've not even touched on how bad match days are. But we've glossed over it. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the Q&A one. But there is fundamental, basic issues at Walsall at the moment. The recruitment is awful. The experience of being a fan is non-existent. And if the football's bad, you need to give fans a reason to want to go. I mean, the poll was damning that I think it was around half of the fans who voted arrived within 20 minutes of kickoff. Literally, people turn up, watch the absolute shit show that's on the pitch, and then go home. There is no kind of incentive to go to the club, to spend money, to increase the profits that they could make. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing that makes it. There's no pride being a Walsall fan. There's no excitement being a Walsall fan. It's just existence. And as long as we are in League Two, it's fine. And that's exactly what the club was like a few years ago with League One. However, they don't have the safety net if they do get relegated, because dropping to the National League would be disastrous.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. You're exactly right. It's just existence being a Walsall fan, and it should not be that way. It shouldn't be that way for any fan of any football club.
No, not when so far this season, the fans have backed the team.
We
travelled in numbers, been loud. The attendances at home have actually been fairly decent as well, considering some of the poor away attendances. But where's the thanks? Where's the we're going to repay you for leaving money into the club, for the support, for buying iFollow passes when we were all at home? Where's the commitment to appreciating the fans and making them proud of the team and the club? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they say, they kind of pose the question, if the club can't be asked, why should we as fans be bothered about going to games, other than the obvious reason we love the club?
Yeah.
Why? And the kind of simple answer is, you shouldn't spend your money with the club right now, because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve the fans. You know, if you love the club, you should go to away games if you want to, but you shouldn't be expected to. The club shouldn't expect you to. The club couldn't expect this kind of relentless support that we give them.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, I do not blame you. If you want to sit at home and watch it on iFollow on your dodgy Fire Stick, I don't blame you.
They couldn't even stream a midweek game.
This is it.
And didn't even communicate to fans. It was the away media that did.
Yeah.
The away journalists that had heard about it.
And you talk about match day experiences, and away from the football, the only reason I go to the football away from what's on the pitch is to see my friends and have a chat with them, see people that I know in the stands and go have a chat with them. There's nothing else. There's nothing that brings me in. There's no kind of atmosphere created. There's nothing kind of interesting that the club does. The bar they have, particularly in the lower, which holds a few thousand people, it's a tiny bar. It fits like 50 people.
It's sold out. If like tickets were selling out as well, you wouldn't
get served. The service is slow. It's not very good. It's not very professional. What's the draw?
Yeah.
What the club need to come out and show us why we should spend our money with them, because at the moment they're not. And I really want to tell people not to go to games for that very reason, because they don't feel valued. But we will. And that's the most kind of damning thing, is that the club knows that the loyal thousands will just keep turning up out of just love for the club, nothing else. And they just take advantage of that every single time.
Yeah. Well, we've been going for over an hour. We could just keep going on and on. We have no doubt that we will answer more and address more issues in the Q&A one. So thank you for watching what is no doubt been the most dour version of these that we've done. And hopefully it will be, and things will perk up. Harley, I'll be seeing you tomorrow for the question, for the Q&A.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. I feel that halfway through that, we swapped. I started off very angry and then went to defeated. And you started off defeated and then got angry. So it was quite nice that we balanced each other out throughout that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whenever I talk about it with my friends, I try and go, there's this, there's that, the other. When I start really talking about it, I get more and more angry because I start thinking about more and more of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, thanks for watching. And
yeah, thanks
yeah,
everyone for watching. You know, the club might not value you, but we do.
We do. We bloody do. And yeah, thank you all for watching and sending your comments. We will be with you as you're watching this tomorrow, or there may even be the other video out yet. So make sure to give that a cheeky watch.